Yes. So that was going to be the first thing I actually wanted to talk to you guys about. So, Tamia, did you just say extra credit? Who did? You did. You did stand up. Just read it to us. Just read slow. What you have to do. Oh, it said I'm going to talk to the algebra teachers, but I'm going to make it up myself. No. So anyways, I have students every marking period that come to me and want to whine about their grades. What can I do? I've got to get my grade up. And usually, I mean, I don't ever offer extra credit. So that's non-existent, except for I've decided that I like brain breaks, but coming up with them is time consuming for me. So I want to outsource that to you guys. So it's coming up with something. We've done different things in here. So you have some ideas. You can do something similar to what we've already done. That's fine. Or you can come up with your own thing. You can Google search brain break for high school students, brain break for adults, brain break for kids. I don't really care. To get your extra credit, like let's say it's one of the emoji Pictionaries. Basically, you create it and you got to make the little emojis. You can screenshot all of them on your phone and then send it to me. That's fine. Or if you come up with a video, I'll play the video. If it's something like stretches or an activity, like you're going to lead that. Okay, we're going to this or that. Or if it's would you rather questions, I'm going to have you say the would you rather questions. But you just have to be willing to, in some way, be involved with the presentation of it. Obviously, with the Pictionary, I just put up the new pictures, but you'll be given credit for whatever it is that you come up with, unless for some reason you are just terrified. In that case, I'm not going to throw you up to do something, but if you have a good idea, I still want it. So I haven't decided exactly how I will put extra credit, but I'm offering it. So there it is. I'm going to say yes. Now, you can't pass your math class with only doing extra credit brain breaks, but you definitely can help out that 67, that's for sure. Because I also know that some of you guys struggle with math, but you don't struggle with other areas like being creative. So that is certainly a way that some of you guys can be a superstar. You wish your dad would recognize what? Yes, in fact, this is very interesting. I am in a book club for dyslexia. And so the book, the whole idea of this book is that dyslexia isn't a handicap, it's actually a strength, and that there's lots of strengths that you can have that come with different learning disabilities. So I do agree that you can struggle in one area, but be really good at others. Do what? Well, you didn't hear what I even had to say. I said I'm in a book club about dyslexia. Two of my kids are dyslexic. And so as a teacher, we get zero support. Like we are not told how to support students with dyslexia. And so like, if you want to be a good teacher, you kind of got to go out and find ways to support your students yourself. But I'm reading this book and it's very interesting in that the idea of dyslexia or other learning disabilities aren't necessarily like means that you have a deficit. It means that like you can be really excel in other areas where people don't. And so it's very interesting. We have 30 minutes to go through the review, which is enough time, but I'm going to go fast. So if you want to get these answers, you really have to listen. The first question. So I will give the answers, but I'm not going to give the answers and yell. So y'all have to be quiet first. I will wait for one more minute and then y'all will have to watch a video. Are we ready? The first question, the problem says g of x, and then it says g of 12. That means that x is equal to 12. So we're going to go plug that in. So we get 12 plus 6, which is 18, and then 2 times 18, what is that? Not 35, 36. That is correct. The second question, to talk about slope, slope is always y over x. So we go up a value of r and over a value of s. It's weird because it's letters, but that's okay. So our y distance is the up and down, so it's r, and the x distance is s. The next question we have in the xy plane, point C has the coordinate of 6, 4. 6, 4. And it goes through the point O. What is the point O representing? Origin, which is 0, 0. So we need two things to write the equation of a line. We need a slope and we need a y-intercept. The y-intercept is easy because it goes through 0. To figure out that slope, the slope is always y over x. So it's our up and then the over. So you go up 4 and over 6. That's obviously not drawn to scale, but that's okay. It's up 4 and over 6. Does that reduce to what? 2/3. So my equation, y is equal to 2/3 x, and I don't have to write plus 0. Number 4, an equation of a line that contains the origin and point 1, 3. So we have to write an equation. An equation is going to have a slope and a y-intercept. It says we go through the origin, so the y-intercept is 0. It also contains the point 1, 3. So I go over 1 and up 3. If I was going to plot that line, I could add a couple more points. No, plotting this point. Just to plot this point, I have to go over 1 and then up 3 to plot my point. To identify my slope, I go up 3 and then over 1, which is just the same thing as 3. And I don't have to write plus 0. The next question is a little different because we are not going through the origin. It says in the XY plane, a line crosses the Y-axis at 0, 3. If you cross the Y-axis, then you know that's your Y-intercept. So what we really need to do is plot the other point to figure out the slope. So the other point it goes through is the point 4, 5. So I go over 4 and then up 5. So it creates this line. But I need to figure out my slope. I go up 2 and then over 4 to get from that point to this point. I'd have to go up 2 and then over 4. So it says that we go through the point 0, 3. So I plotted that point, and then it also goes through the point 4, 5. So I have to plot that point too. So 2 over 4, that can reduce to what? 1/2. So when I write my equation, y is equal to 1/2 x, and in this case, I have to write something because it doesn't go through 0, 0, plus 3. Do what? Yeah. The next question, which of the following could be a graph of x is equal to y minus 1? We've already done this question on, I believe, a quiz and a test, or on a quiz at least. You can't graph a line unless it's in y equals. This is not in y equals, so we have to get it in y equals first. So to fix it, I can add 1. Because right now it's got y minus 1, so I could add the 1 to the other side so that the y is by itself. So then I get x plus 1, and I could put y on this side if I want to. To be able to graph that line or to check and see which one works, it's saying that it crosses the x-axis at positive 1. Well, this crosses at negative 1, negative 1. Those don't work. The next two, they definitely cross at 1, but I got to figure out now out of C and D which one works. This says that the slope is positive 1. Well, that is a positive slope. This is a negative slope. So D does not work, but C works. Good job. Question number 7. In the XY plane, point B has the coordinate 3, 4. And then we want to write an equation that says which of the following. I took the multiple choice off, but we're going to write an equation. It also goes through 0, 0. So I need a slope and a y-intercept. My y-intercept is 0. To figure out my slope, it's always your y over your x. So I go up 4 and over 3. My equation, y is equal to 4/3 x. Question number 8, which of the following equations of the line, okay, we have to figure out a line that passes through the point 0, 0. And it has to be perpendicular to the line shown. Perpendicular just means that it needs to cross at like a T or an X. And there's something special about those slopes. So first thing that we have to do is figure out the slope of the line that is drawn. So to get from this point to this point, the 2 points that are given on the graph, you have to go down. So to say down, you have to say negative. So you go down 4. And then it looks like you go over 5. So the slope of the given line is -4/5. To figure out a slope of a perpendicular, and that's the symbol for perpendicular, a perpendicular slope, you're going to flip your fraction. You're going to flip the fraction so it becomes 5/4, and you change the sign. So it was negative, it becomes positive. A perpendicular slope will flip, or it's the reciprocal, and it will be the opposite sign. To be able to write our equation, we need a slope and a y-intercept. Well, it says we're going to go through 0, 0, so the y-intercept is 0. And if you were to graph that line from my origin, I go up 5 and then over 4. And if I graphed it, you would see that those two lines cross exactly at a T or at 90-degree angles. Question number 9. It says the amount of money M in dollars that Joseph earns can be represented by the equation M is equal to 1250H plus 11, where H is the number of hours. What's the best interpretation of the number 11? And so we've already done this question before. It's saying that M, so it's the money he makes is equal to 1250 per hour plus 11. So you're making 1250 an hour plus 11. So what does the 11 mean? Is that money he's getting hourly? No. It's like after the hourly. So if you worked for 1 hour, you're making $12.50, and then we're gonna add 11 to that, right? So the plus 11 is just money that he's making in addition to the hourly. That's really it. So the plus 11, it's money in addition to the hourly. It's just money in addition to the hourly. All right, we will take a brain break. So these are children's books. I don't know if you were a reader as a child, but let's see. Most of these have turned into movies. So you might be good because most of them turned into movies. Yep. James and the Giant Peach.
Bear Pooh. Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. I don't make these up, by the way. Nah. Green eggs and ham.
Green eggs and ham. Curious story.
Curious story. Yeah, the very hungry caterpillar.
Where the wild snakes are.
What? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Narnia.
Is that like the first, like how they kind of broke it up? Lion, witch, and wardrobe.
Vote with us. Vote with us.
So good job. Like I said, I don't create these, but if you want to come up with a theme, this was children's books. If you want to come up with a theme, TV shows, whatever, if you want to come up with some theme and then come up with your own emoji Pictionary, you can. Question number 10. In a class of 24 students, the number of boys is 1/3 the number of girls. Okay, well, let's see. So it says boys is 1/3 the amount of girls. Okay, so that's the first thing. Boys is equal to 1/3 the amount of girls. And it said how many boys are in the class. That means that the answer choices are listed as boys. To be able to solve this, we have to figure out, okay, well, if that's how many boys, we know that boys plus girls is equal to 24. What's the amount of girls we would have to have if boys was 8? They have to equal 24.
So 3. Oh, no.
That would be 11.
Oh, okay.
Do what? 16? Yep. What if we have 6 boys? How many girls would we have to have? 18. If we have 16, then we would have to have 8 girls. And if we have 18 boys, then we would have to have 6 girls. So the numbers have to add up to equal 24. And now we're going to check which one has us saying this statement. Boys are equal to 1/3 girls. Who likes working with fractions? Nobody. Well, guess what? Let's not use fractions. Instead of divide by 3, what if we just take the 3 over like this? 3 times the amount of boys is equal to the amount of girls. That's easier for us to deal with. So what it says is that if we go through and we check the answer choices for the amount of boys, you can multiply it by 3 and you should get the number of girls. So if we look at A, if I multiply 8 times 3, do I get 16? No. What about 6 times 3? Yes, that one works. So again, the way you can work this problem, we know that boys and girls have to add up to 24. The answer choices, they're saying how many boys. So they're saying this would be the amount of boys. You can figure out how many girls you'd have to have if there's this many boys to make it equal 24. And then we're going to just check each answer pair to see which one works with this part. It says boys is equal to 1/3 the amount of girls. Well, if boys is equal to 1/3 the amount of girls, that's the same thing as saying 3 times the amount of boys is equal to girls. So we go through and we multiply each of the boy options by 3 to see which one gives us the girl options. And that's how we get B. Question 11, it says if 6h minus 9 is equal to 9, then 4h plus 1 is equal to what? So it says this is an if-then question. So anytime you have an if-then, you have to do this part first, this part second. So first we have to solve that equation. Solve that equation, we're subtracting 9, so we need to add 9. 9 and 9 is 18. Almost done. I'm multiplying 6, so I need to divide by 6. 18 divided by 6, what is that? 3. Now I'm going to take that 3 and I'm going to go plug it in right there. Four times 3 is 12, and then we add 1, so we get 13. The next question, the system of equations has how many solutions? For this one, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing, where we cover up one and we cover up the other, we figure out X, we figure out Y, and we compare the slopes. When you do this one, it was a little tricky. For the top equation, we cover up X, or we cover up Y, we get X is equal to 3. We cover up the X and we get Y is equal to, this one was ugly, but it's 3 divided by 4. That's okay. I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom. X is equal to 4 divided by 2, so that's 2. And then Y is equal to 4 divided by 8. What's 4 divided by 8? Or a half. I shouldn't be able to hear anybody's phone. Every time to figure out our slope, we have to take the Y and then divide it by the X. So I've got my first equation and my second equation. Y'all might be running out of room off to the side, so I'm going to do them kind of down. So I have one that's going to end up as, when you work these and you have to type it into the calculator, these little simple function calculators suck at dealing with fractions. So for this particular problem, you can change our fractions to decimals. And I heard you guys already say it. What's 1/2 as a decimal? 0.5. What is 3/4 as a decimal? It's like quarters. So I've got my top equation, which would be 0.75 divided by 3. We're going to figure out what that is. And then my bottom equation is going to be 0.5 divided by 2. And we're going to figure out what that is. So anytime I see like 0.75, I'm thinking of quarters. So what goes into 375 or what? 75 divided by 3 gives us what? Very good. And 1/2 divided by 2 gives us what? All right, so we just figured out that the slopes are the same. But the y-intercept is different. So what that gives us, we have 2 different y-intercepts, but the slopes are the same. So they're parallel. And parallel lines don't cross, so there's no solution. Question number 13. A group of 100 people, some students and faculty, attend a museum. We got 100 people. Some are students, some are faculty. And there's 100. Each student pays $10. Money goes with money. So $10 for every student. And then $25 for faculty. And the total is $14.50. I'm going to tell you that on your test, what's going to be different is that total. So You'll see the answer choices, they're all the same. What's different is the total. So do not read this question on your test and just, oh, it was whatever answer choice. The total is different. It says how many students, so that means that this column is representing students. So if there's that many students, we have to figure out how many faculty so that they equal 100. So 20 plus what gives us 100? 80, and then 50 and 50, 70 and 30, 80, and then of course 20. So we're going to take those and we're plugging them all into that equation. So we're going to see which one works. So 10, and then I'm going to plug in 20, 25, and then I'm going to plug in 80, and I'm going to see what that equals, and I'm going to continue doing that. Did anybody figure out the total for the top equation? 2,200, that doesn't work. It's not 1,450. What about B? Did y'all get a total for that one? 1,750 is not 1,450. What about C? 1,450, ding, ding, ding. That one works. It is answer choice C. When you find your answer choice, you can stop. On to the back, and we are almost done. On to the back. Find a linear equation that is parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope. So if that slope is 3, my parallel slope is also 3. It goes through the point -2, -6. I'm going to go plot that point, -2, -6. It's down here. If my slope is 3, I'm going to do that. I would go up 3 and then over 1. Up 3 and then over 1. And I just did that so that I could figure out that y-intercept. It crosses the y-axis at 0. So this is that line. All I need is a slope and a y-intercept to write an equation. And I don't have to write plus 0. The next question, we are plotting two lines to see where they intersect. So plot the following system of equations and determine the point of intersection. The top line, the y-intercept is at 3. So I go up to 3 and I put a point. The slope is -2 or -2 over 1. So I go down to over 1 a couple of times. There's my first line. My second line, it is y-intercept at -4. And then my slope is up 1 and then over 3. Hold on, I messed up. I messed up. I went down 1 too many times. So there's my first line, and then my second line is like that. My point of intersection is right there. It is at 3, -3. My very last question, to figure out the perimeter, we add everything up. So you can add up all the P's. Anytime you see a P, it's a 1P. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 P's. And then I have -5 and -1. Put together, I have -6. You can choose to keep this review or you can choose to turn it in. If you think you're going to lose it, you better turn it in. If you want to keep it and study, that's fine. It is a grade, so you don't want to lose it, but you can keep it to study. you have to turn it in next class. It's
Oh.
due next class. But if you know you're gonna lose it, then just turn it in.